couple of things to kind of go through prior to the beginning of the meeting tonight. We were very, very, very pleased, and we would like to take 100% credit for the fact that Wynn Hotel, Resorts, and Casino, along with Encore, no longer charges for paid parking. Now, can anyone tell me why? Anyone tell me why?
Why?
Well, it's all because of us.
Yeah. What was the question? Why did they stop, or why?
Okay, I'll tell you why, and then there's conjecture out there that it may have not have been just because of this. All right?
They might have woken up and come to their senses.
May have, yeah. But what occurred is, at a club meeting, we discussed the fact of things that made Las Vegas unique. And in the process of discussing things that made Las Vegas unique, one of them was the fact that we didn't have paid parking. And then I went on about the example of you go out to Wynn Hotel, and there's no way you can get in and out for dinner for less than $400. No way. If you order a bottle of wine, that's the cost. And then you're leaving. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to go to the nightclub, if you're a young guy like me, why are you laughing? Anyway, if you happen to go to the nightclub, it's the most expensive real estate in the world. 4 hours on the dance floor on a Saturday night will cost you $25,000. Okay? So then you're leaving. After all of that, you have to spend 25 grand or they move you out. So then you're leaving, and at the very end, they're going to gouge you for $15 additional. So what do? I made sure the members voiced their concern. They moaned, they groaned, the whole bit when I was talking about that, voicing their opinions. And by who's in favor that they no longer have paid parking in Las Vegas? Raise your hand if you agree with that statement. Okay? All right. Everyone but my friend in the front, except he did smile. So, he's from where?
Oregon.
Oh, well, then that explains everything. Okay. So, what happened is we filmed it. The room was very crowded that night, and then we sent the video to the CEO of Wynn, the CEO of Caesars, and the CEO of MGM Resorts. And what happened, it was so funny, within an hour I got 2 thumbs down on the video. You know the videos that we have on YouTube? 2 thumbs down. As soon as it went up to the CEOs, we got within an hour they both, and then we have a whole pile of thumbs up. And within a week, Wynn Resorts changed its parking policy and no longer charges for paid parking. All because of the Investment Club of America. Now, people out there may disagree with this story, but I'm going with it.
Sounds great.
All right. So one of the things that I am going to talk about and have written, and I'm going to address it more so at the next club meeting. But my next target is resort fees. And there's a real reason for it. You know, I was complimenting the Venetian and the Plaza at the last club meeting for not charging for paid parking, but the highest resort fees on the Strip are the Venetian and the Plaza at $48 a night. Yeah. How about Circus? $29 a night, come and join us? But the resort fees are $35 a night. So anyway, that's something that I'm going to go into more detail at the next club meeting. What I want you guys to do is, first of all, have a read on the club's position on resort fees. So that was sent to you as you were driving over to the club meeting this evening. All right. Now, the buyback scam continues. Now, what is the buyback scam? That is basically executives of large corporations, the S&P 500, sitting around a board table with too much money in the bank, mainly because of the Trump tax cuts. By the way, over 60% of all tax cuts from Trump have been used in share buybacks. No jobs are created, no factories are built, nothing happens. All they do is they buy back their own shares. Now let me target a local company and tell you how asinine, how insane it is. I'm bringing it more to a grassroots level. MGM Resorts, which by the way charges for paid parking, MGM Resorts has debt of over $15 billion. Okay? The last thing they should be doing is any sort of share buyback program when you're carrying that amount of debt. And what happened is there's a few new institutional players who got involved in MGM Resorts. They now have positions on the board, and they lobbied and they lobbied and they lobbied, and so the MGM Resorts has announced a $3 billion share buyback project. So again, no jobs, no factories, nothing is created. All it does is put a base on the share value where it protects the stock from going down, and all the executives of a company basically are happy because their bonuses kick in, and it's the most brain dead thing you can do to keep your shareholders happy. And that's what's going on. And what's the real impact? Well, I can tell you net redemptions exceed incoming funds into the market. Then Mike, why isn't the market dropping? Because of share buybacks. January, February, March, and April, the total amount of share buybacks announced by 344 companies is 360 billion, 219 million, and so on. So I call it the share buyback scam because, look, I'm a libertarian, and I'm about as little government intervention in my life as possible. Having said that, it is something that other countries have realized how crazy, and for those of you who are in the stock market and own a big portfolio of stock, I'm telling you that we are at we are certainly on the high end of price earnings multiples. There isn't a lot of compelling reasons that sees the market to move up. So now might be a pretty good time to really lighten your stock positions and go much more into cash. And so a little bit of guidance, and I've been saying that for about a year. And really over the last year, for all intents and purposes, if you look at 12 months ago and you look at now, you're basically flat, but more money's gone out of the market than's come into the market, and it's the share buyback scam that's just continuing to hold the market steady. So just be aware of that. Now, tonight, what we're going to have is we're going to, in the beginning of the evening, we're actually going to have our normal club meeting. And then I will be following it with a meeting that involves basically curbing the power of the federal government. Under the U.S. Constitution, our forefathers who got together had absolutely no concept that the federal government would ever become as far-reaching and overbearing and cost-ineffective as it is right now. And so under Article 5, when our forefathers got together, they discussed if the federal government ever gets to a position that it's too far overreaching, we have to be able to bring power back to the state level or back to the people. And so Article 5, which is absolutely amazing, it has over 3 million signatures. And what it does is it brings power back to a state level where the states can hold a convention, and during that convention can make changes to the US Constitution. And by doing that, the main focus is things like term limits. Who's in favor that we abolish lobbyists on Capitol Hill? Talk about people who have influence on your lives and do not represent your interests or anyone else across America except their own interests. And every single piece of legislation is filled with pork belly clauses, phrases. It's so ridiculous that you have lobbyists writing the laws and approving them before they're put into their past. I mean, the whole system's rigged, it's horrible, and it has to change. So part 2 of the meeting, which ends tonight at 8:30, is in fact going to be a convention of states. I stepped forward, I became a district captain. If that has appealed to you, stick around. A little bit later, there might be a few more people walking in for the second part of the meeting. I'd like to introduce our speaker this evening. His name is David Lebner, and probably mispronounced your name, but that doesn't mean he's not a phenomenal speaker. I bet you people had problems with Arnold Schwarzenegger before he became super famous too. So, what David has is a track record of success in building companies, primarily in the technology industry. And when I met him, and I've interacted with him, for those who don't know, I really enjoy playing tennis. I don't know if I go so far as to say an avid tennis player, but in my day I was a 4.5. I don't know if you guys know what that meant. Competitive, 4.5. Then 5, then they go on to professional. And so I met David there. David's aspiring to one day be as good as me, so we have a pretty good competitive nature between the two of us. And so David's really had success building technology companies, but a lot of times people's success just doesn't come with numbers and technology. It's about building the right environment. And David's a people person. What that means is, I've been out with him and around him a couple of times, and everyone knows the guy. David, how you doing? And he gets invited out. Like I said, David, can you be like my go-to guy so I can, expand my social life a little bit more in Vegas? Like the guy knows every event every night. Part of his background, he's also a chef. Okay, that says a lot. In New Orleans. And so, I said, well, David, we talked about the numbers and we talked about how to really build a company. And he goes, well, a lot of it has to do with culture. Well, what do you mean? So we start talking about that. And what David does with the success of building his company, selling them, is create a culture of accountability. A culture where people come in and they're empowered. And then those are the companies that become great. And he has a track record of success. One of the neatest ones that he has recently is called Secret Burger. What you do with Secret Burger is you go on to a website.
Secretburger.com.
Right, that's the name of that's right, Secret Burger. You're David, yeah, right. So you go on and let's say a restaurant's having a slow Wednesday night. Well, what will happen is they'll hook up with David and they'll say, okay, we're going to offer our marquee dish, our special dish on Wednesday night. David puts it up for tickets for sale on the website. People go on, lots of them, and you see sold out, sold out, sold out. And what happens is people come up and they buy their tickets, they go out, and it's pretty much one set dish for that night. That's pretty cool because a lot of the people who go to the event on Thursday night go the following Thursday, so they almost become like when people used to follow the Grateful Dead, they all get to know one another as they're traveling around. A little bit of the same analogy in a strange way. How about that one, David? You want to use that for your marketing website? We're the Grateful Dead of the restaurant business.
We'll put it in the Plan B file.
So, as I said, you can always tell a person's success not just by the fact they made a lot of money, but also by the fact that you go out with them and they have a lot of friends and a lot of people who are, enjoy the person, have respect for them. Let's put it together in here for David. Come on up, David.
I'm sure you're all familiar with traffic cameras. It's a pretty basic concept. You speed, they take a picture of you, and they send you a ticket in the mail. Although in Sweden, how much your ticket is for is not based on how fast you're going. It's based on how much money you make a year.
Whoa.
For real. Last year, Sweden sent out a ticket for $250,000. When I read this, I figured it had to be for the president of IKEA. So a guy named Kevin Richardson was afforded the opportunity to reimagine the traffic camera through a pilot program called the Fun Theory. Instead of traffic cameras just being this authoritarian tool, this penalty, if you break the rule, we're going to send you a ticket, they created the opportunity for people to win. So if you drive by these cameras now, at or below the speed limit, you are entered into a lottery to win a portion of the proceeds from the people who speed. The speeding ticket money goes into a pool, which is a lottery for the people who comply. So which one of these two ideas do you think created change? This incredible, this negative, this penalty, this authoritative, if you break the rules, we're going to ticket you, we're going to penalize you, or this positive, slow drip, social reinforcement that has a penalty if you still don't comply, but this opportunity to be awarded. So this program reduced speed by 20%. Just this. No advertising, no marketing, no national campaign, just the incentive of reward. No program has even come ever close to this kind of result. So the same goes with accountability. What happens if we can completely change how we see the definition of it? If we all worked together and our boss came in and said, everybody into the conference room, we're going to have a meeting about accountability, we would all be thinking the same thing. Someone screwed up, someone dropped the ball, someone is about to be held accountable. Well, what happens if we can completely change the mindset of that and take accountability and use it for a power of change and make it positive? You'll leave here tonight with 3 simple ideas, if adopted, that will make transformational changes in both your personal and professional lives. These ideas and practices can become everyday habit. And learning this first point is the foundation of all high-performing relationships. Communication is the foundation of every interaction we have. The single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So how can we make sure that the message sent is the message received? The number of pizza deliveries that were delivered with the wrong toppings on it went down by 80% when pizza orders went from phone calls to online orders. It's obvious that a consumer placing an order online is a much more clear communication than a phone call. Well, we have conversations with both personal and work relationships every day. Most of these conversations are ambiguous and vague at best. We call this ambiguity a glossary of failure. When you say things like, I'll get that to you this week, or I'm on that ASAP, or consider it done, what information are we really communicating? When this happens outside of a culture of accountability, people usually just say okay and move on. This type of ambiguity creates stress and causes tension in the relationship. One person has made a promise with no specific deadline, and the other one has agreed with no real way to follow up. So this stress is caused between the two people trying to communicate with each other. Have you ever tried following up with someone who said, I'll get that to you ASAP? Hey Jim, how's that project coming that's due Tuesday? I told you I'd get that to you ASAP. Right? There's no way to follow up with them. So they respond, and this conversation ends with more ambiguity. There's no resolution. Ambiguity is followed by more ambiguity. I keep saying the word over, but nothing ambiguous ever becomes specific. High-performing leaders and teammates are highly skilled at identifying ambiguity and replacing it with specificity. Replacing I'll get that to you next week with I'll get that to you on Tuesday by 2 p.m. has a lot of benefits. It lets the other person know how serious you are, and it creates trust. Defining clear expectations allows people to visualize the commitments and the timelines that we're regarding and that we're committing to each other. Clear expectations sound like, John, I need the deck for next week's meeting on my desk by Thursday, 2 p.m. Does that sound reasonable? It allows, in the relationship between a boss and an employee, or a father and a son, in any relationship, it allows the person to say, I agree to it, or why that timeline isn't reasonable, and to set a more expected result. In your personal life, telling your husband, I expect the babysitter to be at the house by 10 a.m. so we can go brunch and drink rosé all day, is just as clear of an expectation. Everything we're talking about is in both your personal and your professional lives. When you apply specificity rather than ambiguity to communication, you're individually helping build trust and therefore a team. It's up to each one of us individually to set the bar high and maintain it, or the ambiguity can creep in and kill your momentum. Has anyone ever heard the story about what happens when you throw a frog into a pot of boiling water?
Uh-huh.
One person.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's better than zero. If you throw a frog into a pot of boiling water, it jumps right out. It has the ability to identify a threat and avoids it. But if you throw the same frog into a pot of tepid water, room temperature water, throw the frog in, and you start slowly increasing the temperature of it, it is unaware that it's cooking. And next thing you have is frog legs. Right? So identifying threat is an important part of maintaining the specificity, not letting ambiguity creep back into your culture. The story is a metaphor that teaches you to identify an immediate danger. In a culture of accountability, you must take each individual responsibility, which is our second point we're going to discuss tonight. That there is no team in ownership. Everybody always talks about that there's no I in team. But there's no team in ownership. One task has one owner. Ownership can always change, but there's always just a single owner. It's like a flock of geese, right? When a flock of geese are flying, there's one head goose, and everybody else is following. And that head goose is taking on most of the weight. He's working harder, and everybody else has increased lift because of his pressure. And when he gets tired, he drops out of position, falls back in line, and a new person rolls into the leadership role. So this rotation happens many times, along a journey. When a team is functioning well, various team members may take a leadership role. right? Certain people have certain experiences or domain expertise that allow them to be an owner at some time and then roll back out. On high-functioning teams, you usually will always find an owner and a follower relationship along a series. There's never just one leader. We need to embrace the idea of accountability partners and not fear the idea of accountable and being held accountable for the time and commitments we've made. Accountability partners are only possible when we use our accountability tools and declare a commitment to tasks, which I'll talk about a little bit further down the road. In many companies, the idea of an employee approaching his boss and saying, how's that project coming along that's due next Tuesday, would be considered insubordination. But in a company or a family, right, where, that is practicing a culture of accountability, this looking into this and asking this question is welcomed. In a healthy company, an employee asking his boss, hey Jim, I know this project is due on Friday, how's it coming along, is seen as someone looking out for the team. We all want to be held accountable. We want to be held accountable for ourselves, for our team, and for the company. And if you're applying this to your personal life, within your family. A great leader welcomes accountability partners from all levels from the company. Therefore, upstream accountability is welcome also. It doesn't put your job at risk, right? Or if we're talking about a family again, it doesn't put your allowance at risk, right? So clear expectations allow for a team to work together at the highest level. There's also no team in accountability. There's no team in ownership, and there's no team in accountability. Individuals must adopt and practice everything we're discussing today. Remember, when someone says, I'll get that to you this week, it is your job as part of the team to say when this week. As individuals adopt this practice, culture grows and a team is created. So now you understand that personal responsibility is both the foundation and the glue that builds an operating team of accountability. There's good news though. It's a lot of information, but there's a ton of accountability tools out there that are available to us to make this easy. Accountability tools are resources that turn deadlines into timelines. And just think about those words. We're all living in a world, and if we work for someone, we all have deadlines. It's a terrible word, right? We're working together towards a deadline. If this isn't done by Thursday, are we all gonna die? Compared to a timeline, where it's a journey, we're all working together to get something done. So it's just optics. It's how you think. They're the same thing. A deadline and a timeline is the exact same thing. But a deadline is what happens when you don't do it. And a timeline is what you do to get there. So one of my companies is an online gift card company. It's called It's On Me. If you want to check it out, the website is itson.me. And we work with thousands of businesses across North America. Bars, hotels, restaurants, golf courses, spas, gyms, hundreds of mom and pop owner-operated businesses. We help them sell electronic gift cards on a global scale. This drives a global revenue stream into local businesses without discounting the brand. When you sell a gift card online, it also drives people into your on-premise business. So we support brick and mortar businesses from the online space. These businesses all have a different focus. There are, 1,000 golf courses on our platform who are all running around trying to get ready for Father's Day that's coming up in a couple weeks. While hundreds of restaurants were running around 2 weeks ago getting ready for a Mother's Day brunch. So my life was completely run by deadlines. So we implemented accountability tools. We couldn't live like this. We couldn't excel like this as a team. So this allowed us to turn deadlines into timelines, these tools. There are many reasons deadlines are typically not met. Two of the most common are procrastination and a lack of organization. Awesome, this is due next Thursday. I got plenty of time. That sounds familiar, right? We all know what happens next. Life gets in the way. And anyone? Deadlines are missed. That's it. That's how it happens. Failing to plan is planning to fail. When you work with deadlines rather than timelines, this is exactly what you're doing. Once you're given a deadline, it's your job. It's your responsibility to apply a timeline to it. If someone says this has to be done 3 weeks from now, and it's going to take you 15 hours to do it, you apply a timeline to it right away. Am I going to work on this 1 hour a day for the next 15 days? Do I have to schedule meetings with my team in 3-hour blocks? What has to happen to apply a timeline to the deadline that someone's giving us? When you lay out the work that has to be done on a timeline that works for you, the deadline becomes irrelevant. Think about that. The deadline's irrelevant if you have a timeline that gets the work done on a schedule that fits your schedule. The process eliminates the stress and the pressure typically associated with deadlines. So everyone always thinks about just tasks, but no one's really thinking about how we're responsible for the energy within our environment. If you're running a company, you're thinking about investing in a company, look at the energy, look at the culture in the company. Is this a company that is struggling to get by, or that is high-performing teammates, high-performing culture? That might be a better company to invest in. I got another story for you. Anybody know about the story about crabs in a barrel?
Yeah.
One. All right. I'm 2 for 2 with one safety, right? Well, I moved to Las Vegas from New Orleans 23 years ago. And in New Orleans, we have a lot of crabs. And if you take a barrel of crabs and you take the lid off, what do you think happens? The crabs try to climb out. You know what the amazing thing is? The other crabs pull them back down. It's amazing. When working on a team, checking in with others is part of the accountability process. It's not nagging, it's not trying to trip someone up. It's embracing the idea that we're responsible for ourselves and each other, and that we're not being a crab in a barrel, right? We're lifting people up, we're not pulling people back down. So accountability only exists when someone else knows about it. People always talk about if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, did it really fall, right? How can you be held accountable for something if no one knows the commitments you're making and the timeline you're making it for? So raise your hand if you use a calendar for anything. One, all right, everybody uses a calendar. So, what do you use your calendar for? Anybody? Booking appointments for lunch? Work appointments? Vacation. Good way to use your calendar. Nail appointments, anything. But think about when you want to hold yourself accountable. Almost everybody uses a calendar for a commitment to somebody else. This is an accountability tool. It reminds you of the meeting that you set, and it lets the other person know that you're committed to be there. If you don't show up, that person can hold you accountable. But people don't use their calendar enough. I know so many people who say, I want to read an hour a day, 5 days a week. But it never makes it to their calendar. You set appointments for all these things in your life, but you don't set appointments for yourself, for things you want to hold yourself accountable to. So this is an accountability tool that people don't use enough as a resource. How about if you have something you want to organize? I don't care if it's a group of 50 restaurants you want to see when you're going on vacation to Barcelona, or if it's 250 recipes you have on a box that's family recipes that you've always wanted to organize. How many people have something they want to organize that they never got around to? Is it procrastination? Is it a lack of a belief that you can get it organized? It's a lack of accountability tools, right? I see you shaking your head. So what's something you'd like to organize in your life? Do you have an idea of something?
My house.
Your house. Okay. And so in your house you have a lot of things,
Yes.
and you have rooms,
Yes.
and those things should be in certain rooms,
Yes.
and certain things shouldn't be in any of the rooms.
Yes.
Okay. And anybody else have something they want to organize in their life? Nobody? You guys are all,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Same thing, though. Same story.
house?
Stuff.
One more time. Your office. So everyone has to organize these things. So let's just take a look at an accountability tool. Can I rip this off?
Yeah, absolutely, go ahead.
See how good my technique is here.
Excellent. Perfect.
Almost as good as my stories, right?
What a ripoff.
Funny. So Trello is an accountability tool. Just like Gmail, just like Outlook, most people don't know it. You can go to Trello.com, it's free. And it's a platform, it's an accountability tool that gets you organized. It also allows you to create accountability between you and another person. So on Trello, they have boards. Boards is like the whole screen of your computer. And on those boards, you can create columns. And on the columns, you create cards. Think about them like index cards. So, if I was going on vacation to New York City, and I said, I really want to get organized, all the places I want to eat while I'm there, I'm going to create a board. The name of the board is New York City. And then in my columns, I'm going to say, here's fine dining, here is happy hours, here are breakfast spots, and here are lunch spots. And so each column will be a different genre or a different vertical of what I'm looking to accomplish. And then on each column, I can create a card, the name of each restaurant I want to go to. And in less than 5 minutes, I've organized my entire trip to New York City. If you have an office or a house, this is your get your house organized board. And maybe each column is your living room. And this is your kitchen. And this is your bedroom. And this is your bathroom. Right? And what goes in here and what doesn't go in here. You fill up your cards and you can move these cards around. I'm like, oh, no, this card belongs in the living room, not in the bedroom. All these things are just moving around. It's the same basic ideas we've done with index cards, but in a nice digital platform. You put it on your iPhone, you put it on your Android, you put it on your computer. You can organize anything in your life in a matter of minutes, and it costs nothing. This allows you to take these big tasks and get rid of procrastination, get rid of organization, and you can create timelines. This has to be done by May 7th. This has to be done by June 8th. You can assign it to other people. This isn't just a tool you can use for yourselves, it's a tool you can use for your company. Are you looking at 50 different investments? Create an investment board, right? Are these high-risk investments, low-risk investments, middle-of-the-board investments? Put them on there. You can flip these cards over and put notes on them. You can paste articles into them. So this is a simple accountability tool that allows you to just increase your level of productivity. So I don't care if it's restaurants you want to eat at, or vacations, or family recipes you want to organize. Taking advantage of the tools that are available to you will make a positive impact on your personal life, on your relationships, both personally and professionally. By putting things in Trello, what we own, and clear expectations of timelines, we make it easy for others to hold us accountable too. If you apply this practice into a company, and one of those columns on a board, we have a marketing board, and one column is marketing. And we say, these are 5 blog posts that have to get done. And Zach has to do one of them, and Leah has to do the other, and Jolene has to do the other. And we put it on, everybody in the company sees what has to get done. And everybody can hold each other accountable in a positive manner. Not in a trip you up, I caught you, you didn't get it done manner, right? Positive reinforcement is a greater change of adoption, growth, and change than penalties. The first 3 steps to creating a culture of accountability are communication, understanding ownership, and using the tools that support accountability. As I promised earlier, you're going to leave here tonight with 3 simple ideas that, if adopted, will make transformational changes in both your personal and your professional lives. We talked about communication. Be specific. We talked about individual ownership and how it's the foundation of building trust in teams. Think about your personal life as well. Imagine if you were on the same team as your child. And we've talked about timelines versus deadlines and some of the tools that are available to you to make it easy. So I'd like to hear from some of you. Have any of these topics resonated with you tonight?
Yeah?
Yeah? Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or ideas about communication or about timelines versus deadlines? Yes, Brent?
So then what happens when the timeline's set and things in a business are constantly changing and moving? What is the step then?
It's a good question. It's a little bit of a variable,
Right.
out in space. You have timelines. You're working on transparency tools, right? Things that are transparent, everyone can see. So if something comes in, right, a big new project comes in, everything's going to be put on hold, then timelines can change. A deadline can move, right? In your scenario, someone might be like, we all have to be all hands on deck here, right? So maybe this deadline moves, we adjust the timelines for it. But when it's just like an idea, we're sitting on a whiteboard on a wall, right? No one can see this. No one can see this when they're at home. No one can see it in their calendar. No one can hold each other accountable. So, to answer your question, it's really when flux comes into a situation, a variable's thrown into the cog. These tools allow you to adjust faster and easier because all the information's available to you in one spot. So it really helps you when those things happen, and they usually do, right? No one ever just has a deadline like, oh great, we'll do it like this, and nothing else came up in the next 2 weeks. So things move all the time, but these tools will help you adjust easier. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Could I do one more?
Sure.
I'm self-employed. I'm a voice actor, so I don't have a team. It's
Right.
literally all me.
Okay.
So I think that a lot of these great tools apply towards accountability towards one another, right?
Sure.
I sometimes find the challenge of accountability for myself.
Sure.
And what is your suggestion on that?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier. You want to be accountable to yourself first, then your team, then the company or your family. That there is no team in accountability and there is no team in ownership. You start by being accountable to yourself. You screw up, start again. When I quit smoking 50 times until I quit smoking. I didn't work the first 49 times. In your calendar, put more things in your calendar. Put more things in your Trello board. You want to do more voiceovers? You want to get on LinkedIn and try to find more jobs? Schedule an hour a day in your calendar and make sure you do it. You screwed up and you missed your meeting? Don't miss the meeting tomorrow, right? But these tools allow you to not forget it and not be like, it's very easy to, when you don't have to look at it to be like, oh, I didn't do what I was supposed to do today. But when you see your own accountability board and you didn't do it, like I'm a real piece of, let me try to be better for myself. So I think these accountability tools just work just as well for one person as they do for a group of people. Anybody else have any thoughts or ideas?
Well, in regards to when you're dealing with, say, a prospect,
Sure.
you want them to be specific to you and giving you a timeline to do a follow-up with them, but if they don't, how do you kind of get that out of them?
If you and I can figure that one out, we'll both be really well. When we put accountability tools into place, and we're talking about a culture of our own company, these are things that we can try to implement. When we implemented these accountability tools at our company, it had to start individually. We had to adopt it, and all of us in the beginning when we sat down in the conference room, we all sucked at accountability. We all said, I'll get that to you next week. We all said we'll get that to you ASAP. We all had to address our faults, and we all adopted this, and we all believed in it, and we all started. And we let ambiguity creep in, and we realized it, and we got this. Now we're really good at it, and we're a high-performing company. So when you're dealing with a prospect, it's tough, but maybe you should look at it the other way. Maybe that's someone you don't want to invest in, right? Maybe someone who says, hey, I'm going to get back to you tomorrow on that, and they don't get back to you tomorrow, is a sign of how they're running their company. We're talking about a prospect of a company you think about investing in, right?
Well, if you provide a service or a product and you're looking for, new business and, you're dealing with prospects and they say, well, okay, well, I'll think about it maybe next week or whatever, but what is next week?
Right, and so let's be a little bit more specific. Are you talking about someone you're thinking about hiring for your company? Are you talking about a service provider that you want to manage your social media or be your accountant or be your lawyer?
I was speaking more so like,
An athlete you're trying to bring onto a team?
well, somebody selling property, real estate.
Okay, so you're talking to someone that you want to buy real estate from. He has made a commitment to you to get you something and he doesn't do it. I would look for a different attorney. I would look for a different realtor. I mean, maybe that deal's still a good deal. And you can still try to deal with him and not get the emails and you're following up with him instead of him following up with you. But I'm not gonna make that guy my realtor, right? The guy I'm gonna work with all the time is gonna be the guy who does respond. Like, hey, I was supposed to get you something today, it's 5 o'clock. I was supposed to get you something today, but I didn't get it to you, I'm sorry. I got slammed. I'm gonna get it to you tomorrow morning, right? At least there's someone who's taking some accountability for not fulfilling the commitment he made to you. That character is what I look for in someone that I want to spend my time and my money with. And I'm an investor as well, right? I build my own companies, I invest my own money into my companies. Every company I started has been my money first. And after we showed proof of concept and we started cash flowing and we showed a path to liquidity, we then let other people invest in. But we always put our money where our mouth is. And so if someone's trying to, take up some of your bandwidth and your time, and they're not that, I would say there are people out there who are better to work with. And you can still go after that deal, but don't go after that guy, in my opinion. Anybody else want to talk about anything? Want to talk about any of the 3 topics? Or
Do you use Trello to make your demo?
I use Trello for everything. I have 25 Trello boards. I have a Barcelona Trello board for every restaurant I want to eat in Barcelona. I have Trello boards for marketing. I have Trello boards for accounting. I have Trello boards for each one of my companies. I find it the easiest tool that allows me, it's free, right? I mean, there's a paid version, but I can't figure out why you would, right? I have my whole team on it. It has timelines, it has dates, it has calendars, it has links, it has videos. Anything I want to organize, I can put on this tool. Now, there are amazing tools out there like Airtable and Salesforce and Gantt charts that are all very hard to learn. I taught you guys how to use Trello on a piece of paper in a minute. And if you go home and you open it up, you'll realize it's just that easy. It's literally just index cards in a digital form. And you can move things around and you can assign people. I can tag someone, I'm like, hey, Jim, you take care of this. So I can't think of something I can't do on Trello. And it's made me 10 times more efficient than I was before the platform. And if I'll give you my email, if you want to send me an email, I have a whole PDF of accountability tools you can look at, a little one line of why I like each one. So more than happy to share it with you. Yes?
You do development in different businesses?
So I own a software development company. We have engineers here in Las Vegas and in Seattle. We build a lot of technology for publicly traded companies. We build technology for IGT. We build technology for Golden Entertainment. Technology we have built is on every single table at every single MGM, Caesars, and Station Casino table. So, a large part of my income comes from our development company. I spend some of that money I make from that development company on ideas that I think are cool, like It's On Me, an app that lets you buy someone a beer anywhere in the world, or a burger, or a round of golf. A platform that allows me to gift local, a platform that allows me to say, hey man, happy birthday, this round's on me, and it drives online revenue to brick and mortar businesses. So that's how I invest my money. I make money from working hard, and then I invest that money in ideas that I think are really great, and I got to work my ass off to bring to market.
So do you have Steve Wood used to have a think tank on just thinking about what they could do better, build their business and stuff? Do you do something like that?
We do. So internally, we're not that big of a company. We're 15 employees, 12 engineers. We do internal think tanks where we sit around and have ideas, and someone has a really good idea. Sometimes we'll fund it. But I'm a part of some think tanks. I'm part of a Microsoft think tank, and I get to sit around some really amazing tables. I sat around a table a couple months ago of really smart people, the head of predictive analytics for Target, talking about how they were able to read receipts and know at what week a woman was pregnant from the receipts for what they're buying. So they could figure out what ads to feed them to drive more bids, or if they should be blue things or pink things, if they know if it's a boy or a girl. Target can tell you when you're gonna have a baby from the receipts of what you're buying there within 3 days of your due date. So I get to sit around some really smart people and talk about some really cool ideas. But we don't, we're not really big enough to have our own think tank, but I get to spend a lot of time with people thinking some pretty smart stuff. And every once in a while, they let me build one of them. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Dave,
yes.
just a question.
Oh, please.
I think we all get ambiguous responses and commitments from people all the time.
Sure.
Do you have any special tactics that you prefer to try to convert that into a specific commitment?
I mean, it's my favorite question of the night. I would just do it. If someone's, it takes time and it takes momentum, and it didn't work for me right out of the gate. But if someone says to me, I'm gonna get this to you next week, I say, when next week? And when someone's not in my company, that, is gonna be like, whoa, that's pushy, right? I try to say it with a smile on my face, right? But when next week? Like, they're thinking so much to themselves in their head when you say that. Like, oh man, this guy's really busy. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of free time to just randomly get something from you on a Tuesday or a Thursday. So I ask politely, when next week? When can I expect that so I can plan around it? Obviously when you get me something, right, I'm gonna have to then work off of that. So if I know I'm getting it on Tuesday at 2 p.m., I'm scheduling 2 to 4 available for me to then address it. So I think these are what people are thinking in their head when you ask for that specificity. Straightforward. Yeah, no one has time for the BS. I go right for the bottom line. It's if they can't handle it, they're probably better people to have in your life anyway. And I mean, it's a small push, right? It's not like I need a time or let's just not do this at all. I ask, I don't know, maybe Wednesday. I'm like, great. If you could give me a more in-depth time, maybe tomorrow, I'd really appreciate it. Okay. So when you leave here today, think about the language you use. Is it vague or is it specific? Are you making the choices that lift people up or pull them down? And it's when we practice these strategies we discussed today that we have the ability to be a part of this culture together. Thank you.
It's extremely true, and the people who come up and speak, because for those who don't know background, I've spoken on Tony Robbins' stage, Harvecker's stage, the biggest stages of all time. And in the process of speaking on these very large stages, I would come across people who were successful and they were phenomenal teachers, and then I just came across people who were teachers, but they really hadn't done it. And some of them, were trying their best, but they didn't have the track record. The reason there's so much credibility to the talk tonight is because David tells you what works for him, and he comes with a track record of multiple successful companies. And I can tell you that's exactly the type of culture that I drive right now, for example, in the fitness centers. I drive, okay, you have something, when are you going to have it done by? And I make sure they own it. Then I call them back. And what you'll find when people work at that level and you follow up with them and you have accountability and you have days of completion and so on, at a point where you constantly call and they're not hitting their targets, eventually what happens? They quit and you don't even have to fire them. Now, I know that's a little bit harsh, the direction I'm going, but when you're building a company and an organization, it really has to be built with specifics. And the most successful people that I know, and now you guys have heard me say this, and this is 100% my saying. If you don't have a plan of your own, you're going to become part of someone else's plan. I've been saying that for 25 years, over and over again. And I can tell you that, you know, let's say if we take health, which is one of the pillars of the club, and I was to say, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds and be more healthy. High likeliness of never achieving that. Whereas if you say, I'd like to, which is a much better way to go, I'd like to reduce my body fat from 32% down to 20% by January 12th of 2020. Your probability of doing that is much higher. And by the way, just on the whole health issue of health, because we are a club that's one of the key pillars, it's never about losing weight, people. It's about losing fat. You can gain weight. And if your lean body muscle mass is increased, that's phenomenal. Okay, so those are just a few things. I see, David, enthusiastically, you're raising your hand. You just spoke. Go ahead. Yes, what is your question?
Oh, I just said I'm on board for getting down from 30% to 22% body fat.
Fantastic. Cool.
I had nothing to say. I'm on
No,
board.
that's great. It really is. I mean, I don't know. Certainly on my own end, great example. Great example. I've been standing in front of you guys for various members like Darcy and Paul for 6, 7, 8 years now. And I talk about health and fitness, and I do it. And what's happened over that time period is I've gotten a little bit slimmer, a little bit more muscular. And that is a testament to, if I'm doing it, then coming out and bringing it into the culture. There's nothing worse than someone talking about something and they don't live it. And what I'm saying tonight is David lived what it is that he teaches. So David, again, thank you. You did a absolutely phenomenal job, and really enjoyed your style up here.
Appreciate it. And I have to go for another appointment, but if anybody, Mike has all my information, so if anybody, I have a list of accountability tools and all sorts of other things, and if you want anything from me, Mike will give you my information.
Sure, okay.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. A little bit, guys, on our speaker next month. I'll tell you who he is, and he's a world-renowned economist. Mr. Paul Wendy has spent nearly 4 decades working with and studying the philosophies and methods that some of the world's wealthiest people have used to create their wealth. In this popular talk, Paul will reveal his findings and show you the intrinsic value of wealth created pyramid that he developed based on his findings. And it goes on and on. It was published work. He's been, it was one of the feature stories recently in Forbes magazine, and he is a member of the Investment Club of America. So, pretty cool. He's coming out. Now guys, I think over the years, you guys have noticed when something's working well for me, I tell you guys about it, and then I invite you guys, or I make sure that it's something that you guys can find out about and possibly act upon. And we have our members from out of town, of course, who are being filmed, so you'll be able to see this. And I will consider it as a possible service to the club members if I get feedback and the members use it and they say, yeah, it's really working for me. So this is something that I tried on my own. This is something that I put my own cash into in advance. This is something that worked. And this is something that I felt confident enough to bring to the members. And it's totally outside the box. But in some ways, who thinks that I'm a little bit out of the box too? All right. So here it is. A lot of people will say the largest purchase in their life is what? Okay, a lot of people will say their second largest purchase in their life is what? Car. And what happened was, I went down and I bought my wife a BMW, and when I bought it for her, down at the BM dealership on Sahara, it's a no hassle thing. You go in, you can't even if the car is $40,000, you can't say I'll give you $39,900. They're not allowed. It's just $40,000. That's it. So what happened is I thought about it, and I went back down because I was driving a Grand Cherokee Jeep, and because I live in the Northwest, it's crazy, but I've put over 140,000 miles on my 2014 Grand Cherokee. So it's pretty much had its day, and I'm sort of a type A personality, and so, that reflects in the type of driving that I do as well. And my view, and you don't have to agree with it, is they have to give out more slow-moving car tickets than fast-moving car tickets. Okay? Because if you look at it and you study it, and I watch it on the road all the time, more accidents are caused by cars trying to go around slow-moving vehicles in the fast lane than by fast-moving vehicles in the fast lane. And that's the majority of accidents, a lot of them that happen around the Spaghetti Bowl and so on. Doesn't make it right, just my opinion. Is it scientific? No. But, so what happened is, I get introduced to a young man, and he's got his wholesale dealer's license. By the way, people, like everything, I have no vested interest in this. I don't make any money from this. This is something that worked. This is something that I think will work well for club members. And so what happened is, first I went down and I went to, I wanted to get, by the way, people, I never buy new cars. The minute I drive them off the lot, boom, depreciation, you're dead. I mean, what a colossal waste of money, in my opinion. Okay. So I buy used cars, but I like to buy performance used cars. And so I went down, I looked at a 2016 low mileage BMW X5, which is your basically a utility sort of SUV vehicle, okay? And $39,000 was the sticker price, a little over 39. It's like no haggle, and I've dealt there before, so I was gonna buy it, and then it was just taking a little long, and then sometimes when things take a little bit long, my stomach was grumbling, and then it's like, okay, let's talk on Monday. The rep doesn't care. I think they only make $200 a car that they sell. No haggle pricing, right? $200 a car. By the way, it's interesting, the Fertittas go down there, and they buy cars all of the time. BMWs, that's their main thing. They're always buying them. And by the way, for out-of-town members, they're the ones who own a great deal of the local casinos around here. They'll drive them for a month and bring them back in and trade them. Like, that's when you can just burn money all day long, right? And so, this young man, he has this wholesale dealer's license. And basically we go online, and this is dealer to dealer selling cars, vehicles. I was looking for an X5 2016. Or certainly, I'd like to get around 34, 35, BMWs, 40. Went on the website, dealer to dealer, buy it now. I bought it for 28 grand. Yeah, 28 grand. Here's all the receipts and all the proof, guys. It's all in here. It's all in here. Now, first of all, before I go a little bit further, who's interested in something like this and thinks it could be good for the members? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Okay. I think it could be good for the members too. Because what I really want to do is have tremendous benefits as a result of being a member of the club. So I said, okay, look, what you've done is great. What you do makes a lot of sense. I want to help the members. And you got to be paid for your time. And I said I want to make just a couple of rules. And the rules were, I didn't want any accountability where a member ever buys a car that's not certified. So I told him he could only deal in certified cars. Do you know what that means, guys? Certified cars essentially means there's a warranty in place and you're buying a good vehicle that's certified. Okay? So you're primarily looking certainly sort of north of 25 grand plus. And I just really want to look after the members. When you're buying a car, I want you to get the best price. Now the whole thing is, your cost to pay him to buy the car, assist you with the registration, $2,000. That's what I paid him. That's what you're going to pay. Again, who thinks this could be a great service for the members? Okay. And so it's just something that I put out there, and there's a couple of things. And look guys, if you'd like a form, and this can go, the cool thing is, it's for members and your family. Who would like the information form? Anyone want the, okay. So Chris, help me out, hand those out. Okay? And this is such a novel, a really, really cool thing that I just thought, wow, what a great service for the membership that's completely out of the box. No one ever expected it. And now we can provide this service, and there's just no way a dealership is ever going to deal with you guys one-on-one like this at that margin. So we've negotiated. Come on up here, Johnny. Put your hands together, people, for Johnny. All right, when I go buy cars with him, he's never dressed like that. All right, so Johnny, is there anything I missed? Because I'm not really from the auto industry, but is there anything you want to share?
Well, honestly, Mike took care of it pretty well. He did a great brief summary of what's going on. I'm very excited to speak in front of you guys. I'm very excited to share this opportunity to potentially save you guys money. We'll guarantee you guys save you guys money.
Okay, and here's the thing, guys, and I'll say this, is the security that you have is really the club, and the security that you have is the fact that we've got a young gentleman up here who's entrepreneurial. He has a very, very slim margin, because to do this for you guys, it's going to take probably around 10 hours each time. No one's going to do it for $2,000. There's not a single dealership that's ever going to allow you to buy wholesale, and then you pay a $2,000 fee. All right, so you've got a young, hungry individual here who's able to deliver. I've dealt with him. It's been very professional, and I'm very convinced that for the members who are buying a car, you're going to be very, very happy. And what I'd like to do, and then I'll go to you, Richard, in a second. I'd like you to, before you buy any car, I'd like you to go find out what you have to pay for the car. It's got to be a certified vehicle. I'm not 100%. I said, do not do any deals that are not certified. I don't want anyone to buy a lemon, and then somehow Johnny's held accountable. All right? So it's a certified vehicle. And as I said, guys, I think this is a great service. I want a little bit of input from you guys. Like, do we put this? We're going to try it. I'd like to have 3 or 4 members go through the process and be able to say, this really worked for me. Well, when we get to that point, do you guys think this is something that we should really put out there to offer? Making sure it works well. Do you guys think this is something we should do for the membership?
Sure.
Yeah, you think? Okay. All right. All right, let's get a little bit of feedback. Go ahead, Richard.
Is your dealer to dealer, this is a sub-network that can't be accessed by most people online. You're a licensed dealer, so you have this web access to, do you buy stuff from the auto auction? Where do you get your inventory and how does that process work?
Most inventory is gonna be, fleet leases from big name dealerships, so in this case, it was this 2016 that Mike purchased was a lease car that they didn't finish their lease out, and they just wanted to revenue their money out of it. So they go back to the dealership, get it ready for sale, and then they just throw it online to see if new dealers wanna pick it up before they put it on their lot.
Yeah, Darcy, go ahead.
I just wondered if a person decided they wanted a new vehicle, can you also do new vehicles, brand new?
Yes, they do have new vehicles, per se. It will have one owner, but it will have like under 1,000 miles on it, 2019.
It can't be brand new.
It won't be brand new. I can't get brand new wholesale discount.
Yeah. Sue?
Is this cash only then?
Yes, it would have to be
Complete
cash.
cash. And do you have to have a vehicle picked out ahead of time, or would we say, hey, I'm looking for?
I'll be specific. What I don't want to do, because the margins are so slim for him, you've got to go in and be specific. I want to buy an X5 2016 BMW for 40,000 miles or less. Boom. You have to be that specific. You can kind of consult and call up and say, I'd like this, but you know, it's not ambiguity, it's specific.
Yes.
All right, and you guys are getting a hell of a great deal. And what I'm hoping is that as the club keeps growing, I can find more and more really kind of cool services that are a benefit for the membership. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Options. I want a X5, but I want the Prestige package or blue color or something.
Of course. They'll have multiple colors, multiple packages. Whatever you would like to add on, just let me know and I'll find that vehicle for choice.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Anyone else? Okay. Does anyone out there? Let me go, because I want to follow the process. Is anyone at or near the? I'm going to say, is anyone at the car buying stage? Anyone in the group? Okay, it's going to kind of be like this because Johnny, it's going to take a little bit of time. You're going to have to come out to some meetings. I'm going to introduce you at the next meeting as well, because the attendance, given the fact the subject matter that we have, our meetings will vary anywhere from 40 to about 150 people in a room. And so the next club meeting with the speaker that we have is really going to pack the room. So you'll be back for that one as well, and I'll talk about it again. Darcy?
Just a quick question, if we buy a new car from you, have you got an outlet to get rid of our old car that we're?
Yes, sir. I can post it on Car News and all the dealership websites for you guys.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, so on that, what I basically talked about is whatever he sold what he did for me. As I said, your minimum that you receive on a sale is $1,000 or 10%, whichever's higher. Okay, again, you know, that part can be very time intensive, but it takes it away. And again, be considerate of his time, but I really want to gauge 3 or 4 members who go through the process and say, Mike, really loved it, or Mike, here's a way it can improve. He's sincere, he's trying, and I think this is something that'll be great for us. All right, Johnny, thank you, good work. All right.
One more. Last time I bought a car, it's always a hassle with the taxes and the license and all the other stuff. How do you help us through that?
Well, so Mike wasn't even there when we signed up to sign it all up. He didn't have to show up. I just showed up to his house with the vehicle.
Yeah, Jim, it was a pretty easy process. You'll appreciate it. I mean, guys, the reality is, I'm not really a car guy. I'm a big house guy. My house is 6,000 square feet plus, and that's what I'm into. I love big houses. I'm claustrophobic. I love big areas, big ceilings, the whole bit. Cars, I'm not a car guy. I like to buy something that's professional, but I don't have to have flash, nothing like that. And, you know, again, what I've thought about, and what's really cool now is, you know, I drive cars hard. I'll drive it for a year, then I'll sell it and trade it in for something else kind of cool. Like, you know, because I don't like blowing money. I'm not big throwing money at cars, but at the same time, this is kind of a cool thing where I'm saving enough that I'll probably trade it in and do this little thing each year now. So I'll let you guys know in 12 months what my next vehicle is. And again, living out in the Northwest, it's so easy to pack on so many miles, you know, so many miles. And then with the gyms in California going back and forth, holy moly. All right, Johnny, great work, buddy. Great work.
Thank you, guys.
I'll keep this for the next meeting too, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Guys, I got some really cool updates for you. Really, really cool updates. Okay, at the Money Show, we take a big part of our budget, club membership fees, and it goes towards the Money Show. A little disappointed. We had a full-page ad. We had a booth. The booth looked really good. We've got all new branding. But we had probably about 40 to 45 people in the room. And now keep in mind, people, I'll tell you, it's hard to bring people from coming into a room at an event like the Money Show to going to a point in 45 minutes to take out their credit card and decide to join the club. That is difficult. That taxes me like, Mike, you better damn well be on your game. Okay? Now, of the 40, 45 people in the room, we had 16 who pulled out their credit cards and joined the club. So certainly a respectable return. But it cost $7,000 to do the Money Show. Now, some of you in the room, if you've become a member through the Money Show, raise your hand. You know, and as I look around the room, it's well worth it, because the thing about the Money Show is the quality of members who join. Sean and Jim and Paul, and you know, it's a very high caliber member, the type of member that we try to attract to the club. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something really cool. Really, really cool. All right. You guys know, like, I spend a lot of time talking about health, and I'm always looking for the cutting edge, what's the best. So I went this past weekend to Scottsdale, Arizona. Do you guys remember when Jim Stroley spoke?
Yeah.
This very tall gentleman, 70 years old, and I was shocked. Good-looking guy, tall, and I even said, like, I don't cross that path, people, but he is a good-looking guy, 70 years old, incredible. Okay, incredible. And so I talked to him and I said, my God, like, and I go down to this conference. Not everybody, but the people who are truly living the lifestyle, they look decades younger than their chronological age. And they're learning and they're bringing things into their life, and I just go, wow, 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 wow. So I built a lot of connections and interpersonal relationships in day one. Then they asked me to speak on day two. I've been to, like, Tony Robbins, I told you, Harv Eker. These guys are off the charts. The Investment Club of America. These guys were absolutely comparable. There was about 60 people in the room. Some of them were husband and wives. I spoke for 42 minutes. How do I know 42 minutes? Because they told me, I said if I used up my 45 minutes, they said, no, you're at 42. 46 of the 60 somewhat people, or less than 60 people in the room, took out their credit cards and joined the Investment Club of America.
Nice.
Wait till these people start coming to our meetings. Like, guys, it was such a breath of fresh air with, you know, I love the club members. Such a breath of fresh air because these people are so inspired with life and excitement, and we can learn a lot going both ways, like them coming here, us going there. And what's going to happen is it's going to make it a little bit more crowded when we do the Econo Summit this year, but it's going to be fantastic energy. And Bob has picked up the phone and he's called a lot of the members, the new members who joined. And how many of you know Bob? Everyone should know Bob. He's got calls from Bob. And I'll tell you, a large percentage of them are qualified investors by securities definition. Just to belong to Jim's organization, just to belong. You guys are spoiled. They pay $250 a month just to belong. And they love it. You know, you guys pay $299 a year. You're spoiled.
And we love it.
Yeah, spoiled. So, you know, very excited. I mean, that is over 60 new members that we've had join the club in the last 30 days. And it was great. It was fantastic. And so that's great. The club is starting to get momentum. And again, that's why we changed our name to Investment Club of America. Now, after our June meeting, we don't have any events in July or August. Okay? If we do, it's an extraordinary meeting and it would have to be very specific to an investment. But the last 6 years that I can remember, we have not held any events in July or August. Now, in September, the good news is, when I was down there with Jim, I went out to dinner. I had Jim coming September 17th. He's going to be our September speaker. And what I'm trying to get him to do, and I'm going to try. Okay, this is a guy with a long list of credentials and everything else. And again, when you see him, you'll be blown away. I mean, he doesn't look anywhere near his age. I'm going to get him to try to get him to do a whole, like, half a day on, like, a Saturday of living a longer, healthier life. Who'd be interested to attend something like that, right? So, this is the type of stuff that goes on in the club. Yeah, it's an investment club. Yeah, we have a phenomenal track record. We've done very well. But guys, no point in having a bunch of money if you can't enjoy it. So, you know, that's where we're at. Now, the membership fee for everyone, as a reminder, is $299 a year plus tax. There's no exceptions. No exceptions. Now, one thing I will say, guys, we put on 10 events a year with guest speakers. We have our 2-day Econo Summit. We have extraordinary meetings. Sometimes we have field trips. It could be a tour of our gyms. It could be adventure combat ops. It could be a day with Jim, going around a little tour of lifestyle and living healthier lifestyle. And so we do all that. There's nothing out there that even comes close to $299 a year. Nothing. And so when Bob reaches out to you and it's time for your annual renewal, make it simple. If you guys can find something out there that's comparable to the club, let me know and somehow we reduce the price. But, so be responsive, and if your membership dues are due, fill in the form, get it back. If you need is there anyone whose membership dues are due tonight? Paul? Every year, you're one of the key members. I think you're in every single investment. Anyone else besides Paul? Anyone else do? Okay. So give that to, can you give that, Chris, to Paul? And I'll make it easy for Bob. All right. And so, guys, as always, I think, let's see if I can grab a couple questions right now, and then we're going to move into, we're going to actually do something we never do. We're going to have a recess. And for those who wish to stay back for the second part, it's going to be the Convention of States. But this will end the formal part of the Investment Club of America's meeting what we'll do, and we don't get a chance to do this oftentimes, but we'll just grab a couple of questions. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
When's our June meeting?
In June. Check the website, Investment Club of America. Dom's put some time and effort into building that site. All right, anyone else, any other questions?
Is any news on gyms that you could share?
Yeah, I think that we're at from 15, they're growing at collectively about 1% compounded growth per month. Our highlights, some of the quick highlights, Carlsbad has grown by over 2,000 members in the last year. University is off the charts. University is our newest gym that just opened. And in our first month, we've exceeded 1,000 new members who joined the club. So it's growing well. I'd probably say the number one sort of challenge that I've seen is, it tends to be accounting. There has to be some better reporting that occurs. We moved accounting from, Dannon was doing all the distributions out of Las Vegas for sending out checks, never missed any. Then we centralized it over to California, and Wells Fargo has been a complete nightmare. They charged excessive fees. They made us complete extensive documentation, and what happened was we were trying to get out ACHs, and then there was problems. Then they gave us checks. When they gave us the checks, they were sent out on the wrong stock paper. What that means is the banks who were receiving them, and some of the members were putting the checks in the bank was not recognizing or accepting the paper the checks were written on. So we're now broadening the relationship out beyond Wells Fargo, because it's just been, of every time, that's probably, you ask what's the highlight of the gym, I'm talking about and focusing on something that's been a challenge because it affects the club members, so it's the number one thing. Now probably I'd say 90% of the members, 80 to 90% aren't even aware of that issue, but there's about 10 to 20% are aware of that issue, and we're dealing with it. And it's taxed my time because I'm dealing one-on-one with various members, but what's probably going to happen is, until we get a bank that can do reasonable amounts on ACH, and by ACH, they're charging like $3 an ACH. May not sound like a lot, except there's several hundred going out every month. Okay? And on top of it, because it's linked in through QuickBooks, QuickBooks is charging a fee on top of it. And when we dealt with Chase through Dannon in Vegas, there was no fees. We could just send it out. There was never an issue for years. We can't. We're now centralized out of there. So we're looking at it, but what's probably going to happen in the short run, guys, is for a short period of time, until we likely get a new banking relationship, we're going to be issuing out desk checks for a few months. So instead of your ACH, which was originally my idea, let's do this and make it very simple, it's going to come out in the form of checks. Okay? Plenty of money there, the investors, but the frustration is getting it from point A to point B. So good question. I'm glad you brought that up, Jack, and I get all your emails. I get to read them all too. So with that, and that's also a great update anyway for out-of-town members. So instead of saying it, individually 30 times, I can say it once, and our out-of-town members can see it as well. So look, I appreciate all the members coming out this evening. Richard, it was great to see you come out as well. Good to have you as always, the unofficial mayor of Las Vegas. And members, we're going to have a great summer. Things are going really well with the investments, and we're working hard to keep it up. You guys take care. Good night. We're going to start up COS in less than 10 minutes.